What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here for another month of the OCG recap. So this month was once again, of course, dominated by Virtual World. Over there was towards the end of the month a significant drop-off in Drytron. But yeah, it still ultimately was just Virtual World, Drytron, and Zoo for the entire month. So we decided to, once again, look for something a bit more on the Rogue tier. Ultimately, something I stumbled across was the Amazement package showing up in a lot of decks. This showed up in, I think it was an Eldritch build as well as a Dogmatica build, and I found it quite interesting. So I figured, since I love Dragonmaid, we'll go with the Dragonmaid list. Over there, of course, with the no LP as well, it is a little bit different to the way we play it. So if we do see LP get hit in the ban list, this could be how the deck kind of trends towards in the future. But, of course, starting us off here... Oh, wait. Hit the subscribe button, because we forgot about that. Hit the subscribe button. Okay, so starting us off with the deck list for this one, we have 2 copies of the Amazement Administrator. So, effectively, Administrator will special summon himself whenever you activate a trap card, which is the reason why you play it in trap-heavy builds like this, Dogmatica, and, of course, Eldritch. So when you activate a trap card, it special summons itself from the hand. And then when your opponent activates, or it's just when your opponent normal or special summons a monster, I thought it was if they activate a monster effect, you can just equip from deck the trap, and then we'll get to the trap when we get to the trap, because the trap's pretty good. And then after that we've got 3 copies of Ash like always, 3 Chamber Dragonmaid, 1 DD Crow, 1 Urns, Lorpar, and Tinic. Then we have 1 Ghost Spell, 3 Kitchen, which I always find odd to see 3 Kitchen in a list. I just feel as though Kitchen probably isn't the best 3 of to see. Maybe like 2 Kitchen and a Nurse is the way I would normally play this ratio. After that though, we do of course have 3 Maxi, and then 3 Parlor Dragonmaid. Then for the spells, it is a much thinner spell lineup than normal because you don't have the LP and you're not trying to constantly go into Dragon Link plays. You kind of are just resided to resolving a standard combo on turn 1 of just tidying with a Dragonmaid, and then you kind of combo off from there. But for the spells, we do have the 1 Chamber, 2 Hospo, 3 Extrav, and 2 Prosp. Then we get into the traps. We do have the Amazement Attraction Horror House. So the way this effectively works is when your opponent... No, so you equip it to the... It equips to the opponent's card. So let's read it. I'm going to get a bit confused because it's a negation if it's equipped to your monster. It's a Book of Moon if it's equipped to the opponent's. So you can target 1 Amazement monster you control or 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, equip it with the card. That's just the standard effect that you're going to be using if you hard draw this. Then you can effectively apply the effect based on whatever it is. So target one of yours. You can negate an effect monster your opponent controls. Target 1 of your opponents. Then you can Book of Moon it effectively. So it can lock out a lot of synchro packages. Locks out link summoning. Overall, just a very good card. I will definitely be chasing this when it comes out because it does seem like quite a fun engine to play. Then of course we have 3 copies of Tidying after that, 2 copies of Imperm because again you're just trying to trigger off the summon of your Administrator. Then we have 1 Judgment and 2 Solemn Strike. Getting into the extra deck, there is no LP of course, so it is just a standard Extrav build of 3 Shu and 3 House. The 1 Dingirsu I found a little strange. I just felt as though probably XE summoning a Lorpar and a Tinic isn't the most effective way to be using your plays, but I guess possibly over there right now they want to use the Dingirsu. Maybe it's like a Dragoon out for them or something. Although I think that's been hit. So I'm not 100% certain as to why the Dingirsu's here. If Administrator was an 8, I'd be like, yeah, no, it sounds good. But the fact that it's not makes it a bit odd. Then we have, of course, 1 copy of the Blackluster Soldier of Chaos. This is, of course, because your Administrator can be used for it. Then we have 3 copies of Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, and 2 Striker Dragon. Then into the side deck, of course, we have 1 copy of Pank, 2 copies of Nibiru, 2 Lancia, 1 Ghost Ogre, 2 Cyclone, 1 Duster, and 2 Storm. A lot of back row hate in here. Then, of course, we have the 1 Judgment, the Imperial Order, the Imperm, and the Summon Limit. I found it a bit odd to be playing Imperial Order in a list like this, where your changeover resolving into your Shu is really important. It could just possibly just floodgate out a lot of stuff that he was worried about, so the 1 Imperial Order could, I guess, offset the not being able to use the Shu, but yeah, who knows, you just make Shu turn 1 if you're good at the game, and then Imperial Order wins. Okay, next off is a very interesting list, so this is effectively just Beatdown. It is just old school, I have big monsters, I will attack. and I think it's quite interesting. So of course, your big dangers play a heavy role in this deck. Effectively, everything is just a free summon, apart from your Luna, and then your Luna can just be used to effectively out problems. And then you just hand traps, and Sekka's Light is the best way to go. But of course, we do have the list, and it is 3 copies of Bigfoot, 3 Thunderbird, and 2 Nessie. Let's switch this to OCG so we can see that Nessie is at 2 over there. Then we have 3 copies of the Gizmek Orochi, 1 Pank, 3 Alpha, 3 Gadala, then we have 1 Dogoran and 1 Thunder King, 3 Luna for your primary normal summon, 3 Shifter, 3 Gamma, 1 Driver, 3 Ash, 3 Maxi, 2 Veiler, and an Arch Nemesis. I always say this one wrong. It says Achatos? Let's go with that. And then Sekka's Light rounds at the main deck at 3. I do feel as though if you were adapting this to a TCG setting, you would odds on end up turning this into a Grenmaju build, and you'd be playing stuff like Desires. Not so much Allure, because there's a lot of darks, but not an overwhelming amount of darks, but I feel as though that would probably be the way that this deck would pivot. Getting into the extra deck though, of course, we have 1 copy of Dragoblion, 1 Hope Harbinger, 1 Numeron Dragon, and a Dingirsu, then 1 Sanafond, 1 Pain Gainer, and 1 Seven Sins, because all these cards just lead into your Zeus. Then we've got 1 Shenshin and 1 Chaos Ruler for the Synchros, 1 Anima, 1 Halka Fibrax, 1 of the new Light Charmer, then 1 Selene and 1 Access Code, round out the extra deck. Of course, this does just standard get you through to the Access Code when you go like Hulk into Selene into Access Code, or Liner into Selene into Access Code, and that's just another massive beat stick for you to clear board with and win. But then of course we do have the side deck, and that is 3 copies of Denko Sekka, which you can take off screen to play. Then we have 2 copies of Nibiru, 1 of the Arch Nemesis again, 2 Banisher of the Radiance, 2 Ghost Spell, and a new card, which is very OCG in the way it's played. It is effectively a Battle Fader that when it's on field can level modulate, so you can use it for your Xyz plays and stuff like that, get you into Zeus. It is a cute tech, like I'm sure it works out, but it's a Battle Fader. It's effectively, yeah, just Battle Fader, make it... Actually, I suppose this can actually swing the game pretty hard in this deck, so as you Battle Fader them, then on your turn you just summon something, and then this you can just modulate, and then you just go into a Zeus, and then game. Yeah, this card's actually pretty good. This card's really good. I will definitely be keeping an eye on that in the future. But then, of course, the side deck rounds out in 2 copies of Magical Hound. Okay, and last off we have, of course, Tribrigade. So Tribrigade is probably the 5th most represented deck in the OCG at the moment, so I figured it was probably time to give it a bit of a spotlight. Also, Bird Up's getting a lot of traction here in the TCG, so probably something to definitely keep an eye on if you're completely ignoring it, because actually a very good deck, and a lot of good players are piloting it. But of course, into this OCG list, we have 1 copy of the Ancient Warrior, this is Zhuge Kong? The Indigenous Zhuge Kong? Or Genius Zhuge Kong. Then we have the Masterful Sun Fu, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and 1 DD Crow, 3 Maxi, of course. This is just the standard way they round out their hand traps in the format. Honestly surprised with the Cross-Set Designator in the main, we didn't see probably like a 1 more trap card in here, maybe like a Nibiru, hand trap, maybe a Nibiru, just to use off that. But instead we are playing 1 copy of Propero Cerberus, then we have 3 copies of Gamma, 2 Rescue Cat, and 3 Fractal, 3 Crassus, 3 Kit, I'm going to keep saying 2 here, and then 3 copies of Nerval, with the 1 Driver for the Gamma package. Then for the spells, we've got 2 copies of Called by the Grave, and 2 Cross-Set Designator, now we're going the other way. 3 copies of Tenki, and 3 Prosperity come up next for your consistency, and the 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talents, just to get that either hand rip or more draw cards. Then of course we have 2 copies of Tribrigade Revolt to round out the main deck. Revolt is surprisingly a very good card in the deck. Also, they can play a spell card that gives them protection. It is much more useful in the Barrier Statue variant of this deck, because it can protect your Barrier Statue. That is something to consider if you're checking out Bird Up, though. Then, of course, we have the extra deck, and 1 copy of Savage and 1 Baguska are the 2 non-links you're playing. Then we have 1 Access Code, 1 of the Warrior's Oath, then we have 1 Appaloosa and 1 Harpy Conductor. 1 copy of the Desperate Doom Eagle rounds that out as well, because that kind of goes into your bird packages. And then you have the 1 Almirage with that Samorg, of course. Then into the Tri-Brigades, we have the new Link monster. So this is Tri-Brigade Bearloom, the Solid Assault. ultimately, it's just a transition piece to get you through another variant. When I guess you're throwing out links like crazy, you do want to have a bit of flexibility. If you don't want to go for the draw power of the Barren Blossom, you can then go with the Bear Bloom instead. But then we do, of course, have the 1 Barren Blossom, 1 copy of Rugal, and then 2 copies of Shirag round out the extra. For the side in this one, though, we do have 2 copies of Lancia, 1 Samorg, and the 2 Nibirus with the Dweller. Interesting that there wasn't space to main deck the Dweller. Guess this must be pretty tight, even though I'm fairly sure no one plays the Doom Eagle. Could have just played the Dweller instead, I think. But then we do have 2 copies of Droplets and 1 Duster with 2 Storm and 1 Twin. Again, a lot of back row removal at the moment. Along with 1 Imperial Order. There must be something floating around the OCG that simply can't play through Imperial Order, so that's why a lot of decks seem to be playing it. But then 2 Summon Limit round out the extra deck, the side deck after that. But that wraps up here for this month's OCG recap. I do apologise if I've been slurring a lot in this one. Apparently I'm having an allergic reaction to something and my tongue is swelling up as we're going. So I do apologise if things have gotten a bit slurry at times. But as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.